You're watching Alabama News Network at noon from your local news leader with Olivia Dees and meteorologist Alicia Wilson. Alabama News Network is on CBS 8 and Montgomery's CW.
Welcome to Alabama News Network at noon here on CBS 8 and the CW. I'm Olivia Dees. Thanks for joining us. Meteorologist Ryan Stennett, he's joining us now for a full look at your forecast. A little bit of severe weather out there, Ryan.
Absolutely, Olivia. Tornado watch just issued about 30 minutes ago for southwestern Alabama. That does include Marengo County and Wilcox County, Monroe and Conecuh County. This is until 8 p.m. within that watch box. We are seeing a severe thunderstorm warning. That's for central Washington and central Clark County. That's until 12:45. It's been an active morning. No severe weather in our viewing area yet, but things are starting to change. Tracking showers and thunderstorms off towards the west. Heaviest thunderstorm right now, as I said, for a severe thunderstorm warning for Clark County and Washington County, right over the city of Jackson. Gusty winds, frequent lightning with this storm system as it's making its way along US 43. This is a storm system has had a history of producing rotation, so as it continues to track off towards the north-northeast, it may impact some of our counties in southwest Alabama. Of course, if a tornado warning is issued, we'll break back in, but a lot to talk about coming up in that 8-day forecast. It's going to be a rather stormy Monday for us all. I'll have all the details coming up on what we can expect here in the river region later today. Olivia?
Ryan, thank you. We're following breaking sports news. Lane Kiffin no longer with the Crimson Tide. Head coach Nick Saban announced moments ago he and Kiffin came to a mutual agreement for Kiffin to part ways to focus on his new job at Florida Atlantic. Steve Sarkisian will assume the offensive coordinator duties as the Tide gets ready to take on Clemson for the national championship. We'll have more on this announcement later today on Alabama News Network. And we're getting excited. The Sugar Bowl is less than 24 hours away, and Auburn Tiger fans are in the Big Easy for the big game. Reporter Josh Ninke, he's in the Big Easy. How's it treating you, Josh?
Hey, Olivia, definitely a lot of excitement here. It's finally the day for the Sugar Bowl. Now, a lot of the folks that I've run into have been enjoying the weather today, not quite as wet as it was yesterday. Everyone was pretty much soaked. There's been a lot of fun going on here. Lots of Auburn fans looking forward to taking on the number 7 Oklahoma Sooners. Now, this is actually going to be the second time that the Sooners and the Tigers have played. Last time was in 1971 at, believe it or not, the Sugar Bowl. A lot of Tiger fans today, though, think that this has been a pretty good season, and they stand a pretty solid chance at the game tonight.
Well, it's not so much their ranking that's intimidating. It's the fact that they have 2 Heisman finalists on their offense, and it's their two star players, quarterback, wide receiver. And it's not often that you see a wide receiver as a Heisman finalist. So
I'm anxious to see what we do today. I'd like for us to finish the year strong. I always hope for a win with Auburn, love Auburn, and always never go into a game thinking we're going to lose, so there's always hope.
In just a little bit to have lots of fun and see just how the Tigers do tonight. Should be a good game. Back to you, Olivia.
All right, Josh, thank you very much. And of course, we'll have more on today's Sugar Bowl game coming up today at 5 o'clock on Alabama News Network. And you can catch the Auburn Tigers take on the Oklahoma Sooners tonight. It starts at 7:30 p.m. on ESPN. And that leads us to our Tracking the Web question of the day. After Auburn's shaky start to the 2016 football season, if the Tigers win the Sugar Bowl against Oklahoma, what do you think that says about where the team and head coach Gus Malzahn are heading? Check out our Facebook page and Twitter pages to leave your comments and tell us what you think. A trial resumes this week in the lawsuit accusing Alabama of failing to provide constitutionally adequate care to mentally ill inmates. A settlement conference will take place tomorrow from attorneys of inmates who were seeking additional protection over suicidal prisoners. The motion was filed after an inmate killed himself a few weeks after being on trial. 24-year-old Jamie Wallace was found hanged last month in his cell at a Bullock County prison. Wallace had testified that he had previously tried to kill himself and claimed a prison officer offered him a razor to go through with it. A lawsuit accuses Alabama of neglect towards inmates. The state prison system claims it does provide good care for their inmates, and testimony in that case will resume today. Justin Ross Harris has been sent to a South Georgia prison to begin serving a life without parole sentence for the murder of his 22-month-old son who died in a hot car in Atlanta. Reports say the 36-year-old Harris is being held at Valdosta State Prison. He was found guilty of murder in November after his son was left in his car and died from the heat. Jurors believe Harris intentionally left his 22-month-old son in the car on purpose back in June of 2014. Harris originally lived in Tuscaloosa before moving to Atlanta for work. President Obama will speak to the nation for the last time next week. In a statement on Monday, the president announced he'll give his farewell address to Americans on January 10th. President Obama will not deliver his address from the White House like George W. Bush did in 2009. Instead, he'll give it from his home city of Chicago. That's also where his presidential library will be located. President Obama says he's following the precedent set by George Washington. The nation's first president penned the first farewell address to the American people over 220 years ago. President-elect Donald Trump is back at home in New York City after celebrating the holidays in Florida. Mr. Trump will hold his meetings this week with heads of U.S. intelligence agencies. Over the weekend, the president-elect cast more doubt on their conclusion that Russian hackers carried out cyber attacks in the run up to the U.S. election. Kenneth Craig reports from New York.
35 Russian diplomats expelled from the United States were back on Russian soil. Kenneth Craig, CBS News, New York.
Mr. Trump's comments come the same weekend that President Obama ordered technology upgrades at the White House, including new computers and faster internet service.
Hey, and we're tracking some severe storms off towards our south and west. When will they impact the river region? I'll let you know coming up after the break.
Now, from your local news leader, Alabama News Network Weekend at 6 is on CBS 8 and ABC Montgomery.
Good evening, I'm Josh Ninke, and this is Local News First on CBS 8. Well, many of us prepared for last night's chance of snow, and while we didn't wake up to any powder on the ground, we still saw rain and ice in some places. Let's check in now with meteorologist Ben Lang for an update on tonight's weather. Ben?
Hey Josh, yeah, fortunately for us here in the river region, travel conditions not too difficult this morning, at least not widespread difficulties with travel. But now we are left with the cold weather, and that's going to last into tonight. In fact, we've got the hard freeze warning in effect for the entire river region. That means temperatures fall well below freezing tonight. Upper teens, I think, the low temperatures tonight for many locations out there. And even as we go into tomorrow, temperatures really not going to be too warm for right here in the river region. Right now, we're already below freezing in many locations. Check this out, 31 from Montgomery to Tuskegee, lower 30s elsewhere. And we'll continue to drop off tonight. Here's that the hard freeze warning in effect for tonight. These darker blue counties, the entire area actually under this goes into effect for our northern counties a little bit later on tonight. But again, temperature is going to be well below freezing. Here's a look at those temperatures tonight as we go through the 9 p.m. hour. We're into the mid-20s, and by 11 already into the lower 20s, and we continue to fall from there. I'll show you how cold it gets tonight, plus a look at when you can finally expect a warm up. That's coming up in just a bit. Josh?
Thank you very much, Ben. Now, like Ben said, Friday's wintry mix has moved out of our area, but we're still in store for some of those very cold temperatures tonight. Alabama's EMA director says there's still a lot to prepare for this evening. Reporter Danielle Wallace has more on this story.
It's a wrap for Alabama's first winter storm of 2017. In Montgomery, Danielle Wallace, Alabama News Network.
We'll hear more from Ben on the weather for the rest of the weekend in just a little bit. Now, while things weren't too bad here, roads in Birmingham got very icy. There was actually a bit of snow on the ground up there. Sleet that fell early Friday morning near Birmingham hit in the Liberty Park area and Interstate 65 corridor. Sleet and icy roadways caused travel to slow down to a crawl. Many 18-wheelers were also stuck this morning on interstates, basically putting a stop to any traffic this morning. And as the weather was turning bad yesterday, roads became worse to drive on, and a 3-vehicle crash near Troy on Highway 231 turned fatal. That crash happened around 11:30 a.m. yesterday afternoon. 78-year-old Milton Shipman was seriously injured when his Impala hit a truck before colliding with a Ford Ranger driven by 29-year-old Montgomery resident Melanie Tomsha. Shipman was taken to Jackson Hospital, where he died last night, and Tomsha was taken to a local hospital. The truck driver was not hurt. The Salvation Army is helping those in need during these very cold snaps. Since the severe weather hit Montgomery, the Salvation Army has kept its doors open through early this morning for those in need of shelter and warmth. They provided breakfast and coffee today and also served a hot lunch at 11 a.m.
Because of the temperature, we open the doors so anyone on the street, all those live here, they can stay here, come in out this cold, and also we provide, lunch and dinner for them.
And if you're still looking for warmth and shelter tonight, the True Holiness Worship Center at 2525 East South Boulevard is still taking in people. The building is called the Faith-Based Initiative Veterans Repair. They target homeless vets who need help, but they say during this winter cold, they're welcoming all people in need. They're also in need of some funding themselves. Donations or food is appreciated. Last night, Another Level restaurant prepared food for its people. If you have questions, please contact Bishop Leighton Borden. That number, 799-5297. Well, the college football national championship is now just 2 days away. Crimson Tide will go for their second straight national championship, while the Tigers are looking for their first title in more than 30 years. Jeff Sanders spent the day talking to fans, and he joins us live from Tampa, Florida with more. Hey, Jeff.
Hey, Josh, it's been a fantastic day here in Tampa. That cold weather you all are seeing, as you can tell by the way I'm dressed, has greeted us finally here in Tampa, although I'm sure not quite as cold as it is a little bit north of here, but still turning out to be a fantastic night here in Tampa. It's been a fantastic day today. It was media day where the Tide players and coaches, and as well as Clemson, met with the media members today to discuss Monday night's game. But for me, it was also a chance to get out and meet some of the fans. Earlier today, we were at Fan Central at the Convention Center here in Tampa, and that is a huge complex where fans from all over get to come and enjoy fun games and activities, whether it's ball drills from kicking into a field goal, you name it. If you like football and anything to do with football, today was exactly the day for you to get out there and enjoy that. And trust me, there were thousands of people showing up to check that out. We talked to some of those fans today just about how exciting this week has been and will be here in Tampa.
You can do it. It's a once in a lifetime. Well, not for Bama, but for most schools, it's great. Tampa's doing a really good job.
Fan Central's pretty awesome. We're having a good time.
What are you looking forward to the most here today?
Probably this field goal kicking and then the free Chick-fil-A.
The free Chick-fil-A.
Chick-fil-A's never bad.
Free food is always good, right?
Yeah, of course.
Free food is always good. No complaints there. As far as the fans, they're having a fun time. As we said earlier, it was media day here, and it was a chance to meet with the players and coaches. But along with this local media, there is national media here. The game will be broadcast on ESPN, and I got a chance today to spend time with Alabama graduate and anchor of Game Day on ESPN, Reese Davis, to get his thoughts on the national championship.
You take the 30,000-foot view of the season, everything's built up to this game. A sport that I love and I care about.
Reese Davis there, fantastic guy, really a true gentleman of broadcasting, and I had a really nice time with him today as he and the entire crew from ESPN are working hard this weekend to make sure you get all the details leading up to the game. Once again, we are here in Tampa, Florida, getting ready for Alabama-Clemson on Monday night. A lot more to report tomorrow, and of course we'll have more coming up with Adam Solomon in sports as he will break down exactly what the Tide players and coaches and Clemson players and coaches had to say earlier today at Media Day. So now from chilly Tampa, Florida, let's send it back to you in the studio, Josh.
All right, thanks, Jeff. You guys stay warm down there. And don't forget, Alabama versus Clemson for the national championship, Monday, January 9th in Tampa, Florida. Kickoff set for 7:30. You can catch the game on ESPN. And we'll have Jeff and the rest of the crew in Tampa through the weekend. Tune in this Sunday at 5:30 for our sports special, Going for 17, right here on Alabama News Network. And speaking of football, a reality show based around Alabama State University's marching band returns to the national TV station next week. The show is called Bama State Style. It will air on Tuesday on Aspire Network. The reality show will follow the ASU Marching Hornets Band, as well as the dancers, known as the Stingettes and the Honeybees. Band director James Oliver said the show will highlight the hard work and talents of the students. The university said Aspire will air 8 one-hour episodes and 4 never-before-seen episodes. If you've been waiting to see what will happen to a historic building in downtown Prattville, you might get some answers tomorrow. The Autauga County Heritage Association is hosting a meeting with plans for downtown's gin shop. The building was sold along with 40 acres of land back in 2015. At that time, there was talk of new loft apartments being put in the space. That meeting will be held tomorrow at 2 p.m. in City Hall. You'll have a chance to talk to developers and see what the vision is for the historic building. And stay with us. We'll be right back.
Now, from your local news leader, Alabama News Network This Morning is on CBS 8 and ABC Montgomery.
You're taking a live look at the Montgomery Public School building. The State Board of Education voted unanimously to begin a takeover of the system because of failures. We have that story coming up. Good morning. Thanks for joining us. I'm Olivia Dees.
I'm Tim Lennox, and we have local news first on CBS 8 and ABC Montgomery. The news is coming up in a moment, but first the weather. And of course, for that, we turn to meteorologist Ryan Stinnick. Hey, Ryan.
Hey, good Friday morning, Tim and Olivia, and happy the weekend. I'll have all the details coming up in that 8-day forecast. Tim.
Thank you, Ryan. 3 children have died, 2 more critically injured in a house fire in Opelika. That's according to the Opelika Auburn News. The 2 children who were injured were taken to Children's Hospital in Birmingham after that Thursday afternoon fire. It was in a mobile home. And again, those 2 children who were injured in critical condition, all 5 children who were hurt or killed under the age of 11. 1,900 teachers and some 31,000 students are getting up this morning for a Friday in the Montgomery Public School System.
But this Friday is unlike any other school day because yesterday the State Board of Education voted unanimously to begin a takeover of the system because of failures. Here's Alabama News Network's Josh Ninke.
Hands. Unanimously.
After weeks,
the discretion of the superintendent.
Superintendent Senen says he expects reform like this to take as long as 5 years.
Montgomery Mayor Todd Strange says the city has been trying to improve the school system for years without much effect. He says the state intervention should allow some immediate change, and not just with grades.
Not sure about where the finances are either, so we need to have someone come in that really with some expertise to make sure that low-hanging fruit that's there that we're using, that we're not giving back monies under Title I, or we are not using the money available from the state to do pre-K.
Now, Strange had said he expected the number of failing schools to almost double this year, but there are actually fewer Montgomery schools on the list released by the board yesterday, 10 schools down from 12 last year. Those schools on the list: Bellingrath Middle, Capitol Heights Middle, Carver High School, Chisholm Elementary, Fuse Secondary Academy, Jeff Davis High School, Johnson Elementary, Lanier High School, Robert E. Lee High, and South Lawn Middle School. Now, we've posted a full list of those schools listed as failing at alabamanews.net.
Bullitt County Superintendent Elliott Harris was placed on administrative leave by the Bullitt County School Board a month ago with no explanation. Alabama News Network reporter Danielle Wallace spoke with the board's president to try to get some answers.
Right now, it's still not clear why the board has placed Superintendent Dr. Elliott Harris on years. From the Troy Newsroom, Danielle Wallace, Alabama News Network.
Now, Kimber served as the assistant superintendent for Harris before being named interim superintendent.
It's 6 minutes after 6. Relatives of an area veteran who has been missing for more than a week are desperate for answers. 72-year-old Earl Zook wandered off out of the community living center at the Central Alabama Veterans Healthcare System in Tuskegee 11 days ago. Zook has Alzheimer's. He was wearing a device that should have set off an alarm if he tried to leave the premises. His family hopes someone will get help for him.
If I was driving down the street and saw somebody disoriented, I wouldn't hesitate to stop and ask him a question instead of, normally saying, I hope somebody finds that guy.
He was last seen wearing a red flannel shirt and blue jeans. If you have any information about Zook, call this number 314-0834.
Officials with the Montgomery-based Southern Poverty Law Center say they've reached an agreement with Alabama prison officials on the treatment of suicidal prisoners. Judge Myron Thompson ordered the Department of Corrections to take action immediately. The SPLC asked for the order after an inmate committed suicide shortly after testifying in the mental health lawsuit. The judge has told the department to implement a 15-point plan that includes better trained personnel and more aggressive system to monitor those inmates.
Montgomery police have charged a teenager with attacking a woman inside a business with a steel pipe and taking her car. It happened Thursday morning in the 500 block of Cloverdale Road in the Entertainment District. Authorities spotted the victim's stolen car sometime later near Norman Bridge Road and arrested the driver. They identify him as 17-year-old Benjamin Jackson. Police say Jackson is a suspect in a December robbery in the same block.
The family of a Prattville leukemia patient is asking for help in finding a matching donor for a bone marrow transplant. Alabama News Network's Ellis Eskew has that story.
things were pretty much normal.
Now, there is an event if you'd like to help donate. They've set up a Facebook page to help as well. Just look for A Match for Jess. The Hampton Inn in Prattville will be looking for donors. That's happening from 10 a.m. until 2 p.m. You need to be between the ages of 18 and 44 and in generally good health. And you have to be willing to donate to any patient you are a match for.
Alabama News Network and the Weathermark and Keith Law Firm honoring first responders. The January 1st responder was off duty when he helped a woman who'd been in a car accident. Here's Alabama News Network's Caitlin Klein.
Clay Barnes with the State Bureau of Investigations was caught off guard when he came down to his supervisor's office.
And I'm so glad he's being acknowledged for that.
Now, if you know a first responder deserving recognition, go online for the nomination form. Go to alabamanews.net and click on the First Responder tab.
Now, Weather Authority meteorologist Brian Stennett.
6:13 this morning. It's a fine looking start to our Friday. No matter where you're at across South Alabama, rain chances by the middle part of next week. And that's a look at your exclusive 8-day forecast. Tim?
Thank you, Ryan. Jerry Howell's going to tell us about traffic. We're about to enter the rush hour. Jerry, anything going on so far?
Well, what we're looking at is just traffic starting to increase out here right on schedule. 31 coming out of Prattville, 331 from the south, Troy Highway and Wetumpka Highway, all looking good. The Boulevard doing fine on the northeast, southern, and western side. And also we check 65 and 85. So far, your drive looking good. At Trenholm State Community College, they have over 25 programs. They'll give you the training and have you in a high-paying job in less than 18 months. Call Trenholm State, 420-4200. I'm Jerry Howell for CBS 8 and ABC Montgomery.